Hey, Pete.
Hey, Adam.
If you could step on the toes of any guitarist in the history of jazz, who would it be?
All of them.
All the toes?
Yeah.
I'm Adam Maness.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast for some reason.
Bad daily jazz
No,
advice.
man.
That was. I didn't even mean that. I was just trying. I got caught up in the witty banter part of it.
That's so funny, man.
Yeah.
Hey, so we made a promise
Yes.
on yesterday's podcast.
And we've broken many promises, so why stop now?
No, we made a promise that there would be a bonus ultimate tip if they tuned in tomorrow for set lists.
I mean, that was all the way yesterday. How do I remember? I still got the same clothes on, but I don't remember that. You still got the same spritzer.
I mean, it was literally 2 minutes ago in our world here.
Okay,
so
no, I
so
do
what
remember.
was the ultimate
Okay,
bonus
well,
tip?
we were talking about, I thought we broke it down pretty good, but we had to go next level. We had to wait overnight on this one, but talking about how to put together a set list and some different modeling ideas, some different techniques. And the ultimate tip for this that I got for y'all hear it, is, hey man, I'm flexible with my accents, man.
Yeah.
I'm international, is to listen to great albums and think about them as a set list.
That's true.
Okay? Of course, the classic Kind of Blue. We've never mentioned that on this, but you might want to check if you can find it. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, a great album is a great set, actually.
Yep.
And so the same things we were talking about learning in terms of flow of the set, the openers and stuff. Now, especially when you go back in time to a time when people were listening to albums sequentially, and I still do that. I don't know if
I do
anybody
too.
still do
My
that.
favorite is probably of this Saxophone Colossus.
Ooh,
I think that's a
that's
really
good.
well-programmed album.
That's a great set. And then, of course, albums that are live recordings. That's a
obviously.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
Because they actually are sets. But I mean, there's just so much we can learn there, so much great modeling from that.
So today we got a bit of a two-part question on SpeakPipe. You can go to you'llhearit.com to leave us your voice message.
Yes.
And this is from Kyle. Let's check it out.
Hey guys, Kyle here. I have a question for you about decision making during my improvisation in a way that doesn't clash with what other musicians are bringing to the table, And I'm thinking more about like harmonic information. So let's say I'm comping as a piano player. I'm comping for like a horn player that's taking a solo. How do I go about making good decisions, in a way that I respect what he's providing me with, harmonically speaking, but also in a way that I can still be bold and creative, and, trying to spice things up a little bit with my own harmonic ideas. How do I make the best out of those, different harmonic ideas? Mine and his. And also, if you have the time, one thing that really haunts me is how do I play with a guitarist? So like, do I comp for a while and then he comps for a while? Is there any way we can play together at all, at the same time in a fuller band context? It all seems very complex to me, but I'm sure you guys can handle it. So thank you so much for all you've been doing. And yeah, cheers. Bye.
Thanks, Kyle. Good questions. Yeah.
It's Kyle, right?
Kyle,
Not Kyle. I thought it was Kyle. Kyle. Great. Two different kind of issues, but maybe a little bit of overlap.
Well, it's all about listening on these, right?
Okay, you'll hear it.
And you can always go to... No, I'm just kidding.
No, it really is. I mean, look, we don't want to answer the same way every time, but we have to say that first, and then we'll get into some other things. But listening is that magic pill.
But listen, the point of listening...
Enter the
on
Matrix.
The point of why we say listen all the time is because you have to get out of your head. You have to get out of just what you're doing. It's about the group. It's about coming together, and to do that in a way that is effective, you have to listen to each other. And as someone who's accompanying, literally, like that's what comping stands for.
Yep.
You are accompanying the horn player in this scenario that
Yep.
you presented, and you have to listen to them. Now, you can do things to be bold, as you say, or to be yourself, but you have to defer to, at least for me, especially if I don't know them.
Right.
I want to defer to them because they're going to give me bold ideas, and I'm gonna do it, and I know that it came from them, that it's going to be acceptable. You know what I mean? That we're building this relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I like the idea of building a relationship because too, that to your point of, if you don't know them, if it's a new musical relationship, that is a different way of playing than somebody that when they need to be pushed and want to be pushed versus supporting. I think a lot of this in comping is about support versus pushing.
Yeah.
And maybe pushing is, maybe it's inspiring or providing, because that's a very real part of improvisation. Part of supporting is to know when you do have to give them some ideas. But how are you going to know any of that if you're not listening?
Yeah.
And the listening, it can't just be, of course, no. I mean, said no one ever, yes, I'm not, of course I'm listening when I'm comping. Yeah, but have you done everything to prepare yourself to be able to listen most effectively? So that means spending a lot of time listening and training your ear before, so that you are so much in the habit of being able to hear and having, being attuned to being in that space of like total support once you get there. Because whenever we come to any situation, we are who we are. We're at the level we are at that time. It's our responsibility between every gig to do as much as we can to develop our whole musical selves, so that we can be even more supportive, so that we can hear even better, and all those kind of things. But that listening, which is really ear training, and when we talk about the actual practice of and application of listening, beyond just someone, I love jazz, I listen to it all the time. You could do that your whole life. If you never apply it to learning, you're never going to get any better.
Yeah.
You might not even learn your instrument.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about things specifically you can listen for, especially if it's someone new. The first thing that comes to mind, Kaio, is listen to how the player you're accompanying builds and creates and releases tension.
Yeah.
That's something that you can sort of start stepping into. So like a few weeks ago, I was lucky enough to get to play these gigs with Ron Miles and Marcus Strickland, and not played with them before, and really was trying to support when they were in, and obviously setting things up, and when they started to build this tension that's obviously going to be released, I have to support them for that too. Yep. So I'm not just going to comp on through straight. I'm going to help them build tension. I'm going to give them ideas, and then they take those ideas from me, and now we're building. Everybody's building this together, and then it gets released hopefully together, or maybe it doesn't. But we've set a precedent that we're going to move in these ways as a group. And so if I'm listening to when the soloist creates tension either harmonically or rhythmically, and help them to do that, they're going to trust me, to help with their solo.
Yeah, and really, I think what you're describing there is storytelling,
right?
Collective storytelling led by the soloist.
Right.
So the listening and the supporting is about, of course, listening to the notes and the harmonies and understand the ear training I talked about earlier. But now we're going next level in terms of like being open to hearing their story as it unfolds and to supporting that story.
Yeah.
So this is improvisation, so you don't know what that's going to be. Yes, as you get to know a player, you start to understand the types of stories they like to tell.
Well, that's exactly right. Then you could actually start leading them in those directions.
Yes, exactly. And you start to be able to, like on an intuitive level, know, and this is where we can kind of fold in his question about the guitarist, about playing with a guitarist rather as pianist, is start to know when they need support, when they leave gaps in their story that need to be, it's just like we're talking here. Look, totally. The more, this podcast started brilliant. Let's be honest with it. You know what I mean?
They always do.
But no, I'm sure if we go back to some early episodes and we're speaking back and forth, and like there's once we really get to know when it's appropriate to step in and then go back and forth, and like whether somebody's taking the lead or not, we're not even thinking about that anymore, because we're trying to tell a collective story here in 10 minutes or whatever about whatever the subject we're telling. And this is nowhere near as good as a great solo, right. But hey, we're doing our best. Yeah. But the idea is that, you have to be opening to listening, but then you also can't be just so supportive and diminutive, where you're just submissive. Yeah, exactly. That's not good comping, being just submissive all the time.
Yeah.
There's times when you need to be submissive, but you got to be able to listen and plan, not plan that out on the spot, figure out the times when that's appropriate and not, and then make those quick adjustments to get out of that.
That's so true. I think the key to this is really understanding that when you're accompanying someone, this is a relationship, and just like any relationship or conversation you're having, you have to want to understand where that person is coming from. You know what I mean? And so there are clues that can, like I was saying, like when this person creates tension, down to even like, okay, so I usually play a C7 sharp 9, but they're just playing a C9 every time.
Right.
You know what? Maybe that's time for you to play the changes that they're playing.
Right. Exactly.
That is a time where listening can help you lock in with them and support them as opposed to pushing your narrative on them at all times. And then if it's someone you know all the time, you could be like, yo, bro, actual changes are C7 sharp 9. Yeah. Here, check it out.
Put that in your story, big guy.
Put that in your SpeakPipe and smoke it. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, listening to these different details and then helping them build their solo off those details is our job.
Yeah. And then, take the opportunity. Like, this is one of those skills, and maybe just even talking about comping in general is what I'm talking about, that you can learn a lot, obviously, from listening to recordings, live performances, whatever, but you really can learn a lot playing with someone that's really good at this. And so as pianists, a lot of times we're like, we don't get to maybe experience that as much because like we're the primary compers. But this thing about playing with guitarists, if you get a chance to play with a really good guitarist, lay out and let them comp, because it's always the default of the pianos, not always, but it's too much. Lay out and as opposed to trying to even work with them, they've got it. I mean, the guitar can cover pretty much what the piano can from that standpoint in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
And then especially if they're good, you can learn by watching how. That's going to give you some other ideas. Also, check out drummers. So I played last week with Herlin Riley, one of my favorite musicians to play with, great drummer from New Orleans. And he's such an amazing accompanist, and it really transcends like the instrument in that it really kind of comes forth from his attitude. Like, he wants to support and inspire the people he's playing with so much. It's like, it's not even like he wants to do it so much. It's such a natural thing for him. He's just a supportive and inspiring person. Yeah. So, and then he's a really good drummer. So he put them both together, and he's an inspiring and supportive drummer. Go think.
That's how that works.
Yeah. And so, but you can learn a lot from that. So don't just think about, I can only learn this from pianists. So if you're lucky enough to get in a situation where you're around a musician that has mastered this, try to tap into that energy source, talk to them, imitate them, buy them a drink, whatever you got to do to impart some of that knowledge to yourself.
It's so true. Listening to drummers, I've learned a lot about when to leave space as an accompanist, when to play more.
Leave space? What drummers? I never heard that.
No, great drummers know when to, just lay back there and spangalang or really get in there. Yeah. And sometimes I like to play with, like, accompany with the drummers in mind of like, you know what, I'm going to give the drummer the lead on this space-wise.
Yeah, it's the last tune of the set. We're getting towards the end. Most of the people have left. Let's give the drummer a little bit, right?
Yeah, no, I was going to go to the bar and get a drink. That's what I usually say to that.
You got it. Take it out. Yeah, I just want to shout out Herlin Riley. Have you heard his new record?
I have.
Isn't that amazing? Perpetual Optimism. I had to look it up.
Gotta check it out. Yeah. That's highly recommended from the You'll Hear It podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a contender for, I guess it was that last year? Or was it this? It should be a contender for Album of the Year.
It was amazing. Yeah. And then for me, I don't know how you feel all the time about guitarists. Guitarists are tricky. I can play with guitarists, especially guitarists I know really well, and I know their tendencies, but it's always less than how I would play if we're not playing together. And a lot of times I will just lay out and let them take a chorus, and then I'll take the next chorus. Right. Not the chorus, sorry, the solo, and I'll take the next solo. It's like if we're playing with a quintet or something.
Yeah, I wasn't listening, sorry. That's why I said But it's but I mean, I have such confidence. I'm supporting you.
Thank you very much. You know what I'm saying, though, with the guitarist? Like, it can be a trick, especially if you don't know each other. It's easy to play clashing things either rhythmically or harmonically. So, if they're taking they start just chunking away on whatever, then I can get in there with some rhythmic stuff. Sure. But if they're actually comping, maybe I'll do some orchestration, single note lines, leading tones and stuff like that. But
Agreed.
Oftentimes it's just like, you got it.
This
go to the bar again.
Yeah, right. So maybe we'll have an ultimate tip for playing with guitarists. We'll think about that for a second. We'll put that at the end of the show in just a few minutes because we're coming to the end anyway.
We're coming to the end. So if you want to leave us a SpeakPipe, again, go to you'llhearit.com. You can also check out the podcast. That is the podcast. You can also check out the blog. On that same site, check out the blog. We have a lot of great free content videos, 2-minute jazz videos, transcriptions. If you're a pianist, we do have some chord arrangements that have become pretty popular over there of standards. Really good stuff. Go check it out. Also, make sure to go to openstudio.network.com. It's the sponsor of this podcast.
It is.
We have a ton of a bunch of courses from Peter Martin. Peter Martin has recorded like 650 lessons at this point. It's too many, man.
Yeah.
You got to take a break.
More than even the You'll Hear It podcast? Is that possible?
It is possible. You've been doing it for 8 years.
That's true.
But we also have courses by Christian McBride and Diane Reeves and Jeffrey Keyser.
Ooh, the Diane Reeves course. That's got some piano guitar stuff.
That does.
And if folks sign up for that, that's another reason to get the all access pass. You can jump in on, maybe you're not feeling like you're interested in vocals, although who doesn't love to hear Diane Reeves sing, right?
It's amazing. I've learned a lot.
But there's some stuff in there, like we talk a little bit about that, piano, guitar, how do you play together, especially in a duo situation, accompanying. Yeah. We do a lot of accompanying of
Duo is a whole other animal. with the piano guitar thing.
That's
yeah,
right.
it's worth checking out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's our ultimate tip for playing with guitarists?
Well, you know what I was thinking? This is a little one, but I think it could be used a lot and it's fun.
It's a little ultimate?
No, I mean it's just a little technique and it's a small thing, but I love doing it, so I will call it ultimate. And that is when really learn what the range of the guitar is on the piano, which is not hard to do. Like once you kind of figure that out, think about comping entirely outside of that range.
Yeah.
Like that's your only rule.
They're in the tenor range in general.
Exactly.
They're in that low mid range.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what that does is it gives you a lot of space to do, and it kind of pushes you into an area that we don't necessarily think about for comping. A lot of single line stuff you kind of notice about the individual notes and stuff, but you can go octaves. But basically just move everything out to there.
That's right.
You know, and you're going to solve a lot of your problems. And if anything, you're going to be able to hear some different things. But then be active with your comping. And remember, like we think about clashing with a guitarist in terms of harmony, but that's only, there's melody, harmony, and rhythm. And when we talk about comping, it's really about harmony and rhythm.
Yeah.
But rhythm is important, just as important as harmony. So think about not only clashing, but syncing up with, maybe you're going to be very simple harmonically, but you're going to really focus in on the rhythm then and linking up with them on that rhythm.
Yeah,
and then you're out of their range, so there's no chance.
I mean, if that doesn't work, then just unplug their amplifier.
That's
just
true.
Just straight up unplug them.
Right. I've also been noticing a lot of guitarists like to keep their phones on the stage. I guess they think they get so many gigs. Have somebody call them
there you go.
at that time so they get distracted, and then you can take over the comping, right?
Yeah.
And then
you'll hear it.